Hi, welcome to the video. If you enjoy, be sure to like and comment how your day's been. I'd love to read it. If you also like, what my channel brings, be sure to subscribe. On top of that, also one of my friends have helped make this video, so if you would love to check out their channel, it's going to be in the description, and be sure to give them some love as well. Without further ado, welcome to the video and enjoy. Racing games. They can take a serious approach and be as realistic as possible. Or they can take an interesting path into a subgenre, the kart racer. The kart racing genre typically consists of racing chaos involving items to create an artificial balance between skill and luck. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is the most recent iteration of its franchise, adding more quality and quantity than ever before with the most tracks ever, and also, ironically, the most rainbow roads ever in a Mario Kart. And also on top of that, being the only Mario Kart to have a rainbow road not as the final track of a cup. Interesting. Crash Team Racing Nitro Field is a more recent remaster of Crash Team Racing made on the PS1. Since then, it has also had monthly DLC, only recently being stopped about a year ago. That has added more content on top of the base game already. These two racing games are arguably the best for their generation, but which one is better? I'm going to be making a comparison and draw a comparison between the two games and see which one does it better in one aspect and does better in another. In no means am I saying either of these games are worse or better than another in a whole grand scheme. They're very interesting and very individual, and I like to draw a comparison between things like that. So drawing the comparison, you should look at what you're first introduced to when you open up each game respectively. Mario Kart has an interesting opening sequence, which typically is just like, Mario Kart! Which is interesting and cool. Crash Team Racing opens up with a trophy, with Crash Bandicoot grabbing it, saying CTR, Crash Team Racing. Interesting, cool, both of them are simple enough. So when you look at the opening menus, Mario Kart has single player with each of its menus, multiplayer, which then has the option of 2, 3, and 4 players respectively. It has online play with 1 to 2 players, and also has local play with 1 to 2 players respectively, with a bunch of other sub menus which are not part of the focus. They're at the bottom of the screen. Crash Team Racing has adventure mode, which then gives you the option to play the adventure mode, has local arcade, which offers almost all the gameplay features. It then has online, which lets you do online gameplay with anyone else. Pit Stop, which has the in-game purchases you can make with either the currency or with your own money. It has Wumpa challenges, which tells the challenges you can achieve today, in the week, in the month, which gives you incentivization to play better and do really interesting things. Yay! And also high scores, which shows you the high scores for your time trials, your ring rallies, your time rallies, your ring trials, all the game modes, which is really interesting. I feel Crash Team Racing's biggest problem in the menus could be that all of the content and the gameplay options are almost entirely in the local arcade menu. Like Mario Kart, that splits up the menus into single and multiplayer options, which just makes it easier to navigate. Crash Team Racing doesn't offer that. But I feel Crash Team Racing's problem could be applied to Mario Kart if it offered as much content. Crash Team Racing dwarfs Mario Kart in content and the variety of multiplayer options on top of that. Crash Team Racing may dwarf Mario Kart in content, but what is the quality? Mario Kart has a very streamlined driving style. It's very refreshing, and it is also very clean. It has few driving styles which are slightly different but offer very little variety, although there's one exception. Crash Team Racing in juxtaposition is very freeform. It's very expressive how you drive, and there isn't inherently a wrong way to do it. It offers driving styles which have the same overall drifting mechanics but offer a lot of variety within those drifting mechanics. Mario Kart tries to offer differing variety with the same fundamentals, where Crash Team Racing is different and actually uses the driving, like the drifting styles, as the difference, the change. Mario Kart has 4 drifting styles. It has the kart style. It starts outside and then takes a very tight arc and an angle drifting after that. It can be changed a lot while turning during the drift. The ATV style is very similar to that premise but is less steep in all of the regards. The outward bike style is yet again very similar, but it's actually steeper than the opposed kart and ATV style. Now, the biggest difference between all those drifting styles compared to the inward bike style is that it's a consistent arc. Gang! It's a consistent arc. It's a consistent arc and it can not really be changed throughout the whole drift. Crash Team Racing's drifting styles is the turnstile. It has low acceleration, low speed, but insane handling and also an insane drift. The drift style, it is quite fast. The second fastest driving style, has low handling and acceleration, but excels in navigating the track whilst drifting. The speed style, similar to the drift style, it is very fast, being the fastest driving style, has low handling and low speed, although being one of, if not the best driving style given its speed in comparison. Has the acceleration style, which has low speed, high acceleration and middling turning, also with a middling drift. When you get hit, the fastest to get back up to speed. And lastly, we have Balanced. Balanced has very good stats over the board and is arguably the third or second best driving style in the game, just given its all-round great efficiency in navigating the track while also being able to bounce back from all of the deficits, racing in that kart racing genre faces. Crash Team Racing and Mario Kart's drifting styles work very effectively for their mechanics, their racing styles. But I feel Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled offers just a better simplicity and also better awareness of what actually you're driving. Crash Team Racing has a classic mode on top of the drifting styles, which just let you play the driving style which is attuned to that character, but it also lets you be very specific, basically letting you not have to sacrifice your creativity or your expressiveness with your character and your kart style. You'll all be driving the exact same no matter what, which I think is extremely good and fair for the people who just want to be creative with what they're racing as. Mario Kart in Juxtaposition has a very broad and extensive customization chart with both the drifting styles of the karts and bikes and also the characters. All of them offer their own individual stat changes and differences, which then also alters the viability of your racing. So a higher level racing sphere, obviously in a consistent basis the better player should win, but it also more typically can also be the better kart. So typically when you enter a higher competitive level room online in Mario Kart, you'll be greeted with almost the exact same kart and almost all the same characters, or at least there's very little variety. I feel that it isn't inherently bad how Mario Kart handles it, but it doesn't give open viability to any of the other characters that don't offer the really good stats and the fundamental stats you'll need for Mario Kart, which is weight and speed primarily. After that, obviously handling acceleration is considered quite important. So that's why a mid to heavyweight character is usually considered the ones you want. Not a super heavyweight character because they offer too much speed, sacrifice for too much acceleration, as example. Crash Team Racing completely negates that issue by having every single driving style be available to any kart and any racer and any wheels, anything. You can be as expressive as you want with any customization and you get to race how you want. I think that availability is quintessential in having a very open and beneficial racing experience, especially when entering a more competitive aspect of the multiplayer. Alongside the expressiveness of Crash Team Racing, I also feel Mario Kart offers very little besides your character customization. I feel the driving style is very restrictive and offer little capability to drive how you wish. I mean, as example, when you play the game for the first time, it automatically has you on a driving assist, which doesn't let you go the wrong way. On top of that, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe also doesn't want you to explore the tracks, take individual shortcuts which are interesting unless you have a power item meant to make that comeback. The only skill is practicing something when you're at the deficit, partly because you're not having enough skill, or you're losing because of your inability to defend from items, which could be luck or could be skill based. Crash Team Racing in Juxtaposition has a very interesting way to navigate each of the tracks where you don't need a single item in the multiplayer to do any of the shortcuts. Of course, it makes it easier and benefits you when doing that because it makes it faster, but you can do it all in vanilla racing in your time trials without a single item. Why I feel this is better and is more inclusive is that it actually lets the better player win in a more consistent basis. If someone gets a shortcut and wins because of just that shortcut alone, and someone else was incapable of executing that, I think the better player should be the one that wins. Of course, this higher skill gap and more openly embraced skill-based experience also creates the issue where the multiplayer cannot be as fun if there's a huge gap in skill. As an example, against my nephews who are, about 10 years younger than myself, I typically have to wait about 120 seconds or 90 seconds, depending on the track, if we do 7 laps of it, just so it's a very competitive experience. Typically by the 6th or the 7th lap, I'm very close to them and the pace is picked up on both ends. In Mario Kart, it's a completely different experience. I myself feel I'm pretty good at Mario Kart and I can beat almost anyone with just my hand alone. Right now you can be seeing a video, probably in this background here, of me beating Mario Kart with one hand in a time trial. It's not very hard, and realistically it shows that I probably spend too much time playing games, and that also it is fairly good to get good at Mario Kart. I'm Mario Kart. Right now you can be seeing a video, probably in this background here, of me beating Mario Kart. Talk about the multiplayer experience of Mario Kart and Crash Team Racing obviously factors in the skill progression and the multiplayer aspect behind that, but it also, talks about the items, or we should talk about the items. I feel Mario Kart's items have it down pat to a better method, a better addition compared to Crash Team Racing. I feel Mario Kart isn't dependent on the items, but it definitely plays an equivalent factor into the racing experience, as does the skill. I think Crash Team Racing is much more focused on skill, but I don't think inherently it is worse in that regard. I think it's a different kind of racing experience, and it values actually being good at the game over the dogma of items defining the whole race or your whole placement. I feel Crash Team Racing items are extremely impactful, but less often than compared to Mario Kart. I feel Mario Kart's items are very consistently impactful, but only until a climax, the last lap of Blue Shell, is when it only seems like it's chaotic, it's a lot. I think Crash Team Racing's items, in very short bursts, become very punishing, but as soon as that wave stops, it is back on the racing. You can catch up after getting hit by an item if you race better. Not by using items, but of course that still plays a factor, as in a video I'm playing now of me winning because of an item in both Mario Kart and also Crash Team Racing. I feel also then, because of that, Mario Kart can become quite an unfair experience, especially when the better player gets a better item and it's a lucky item. Having a high placement, being close to first place, and getting a power item like a mushroom or triple red shells, it can be very polarizing, especially when the playing field could be quite even between those two players up until that point. Beyond the items, the availability of the multiplayer, I feel it is important to address the skill ceilings between both Crash Team Racing and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe respectively. I feel Crash Team Racing Nitro Field has a much higher and intense skill ceiling, which requires a lot of legitimate motor control in your hands, and it's actually a very difficult game to master. I most recently have done all the velo time trials, and it's taken me 2 months to get it all done, but I'm playing quite a lot realistically. In Mario Kart, that skill ceiling is, in comparison, non-existent. An example, I have my nephews, who are about 10 years younger than me, as I've said previously, who have been comparable in being able to beat some of the lower level time trial ghosts in Mario Kart. But Crash Team Racing, they pale in comparison to the lowest level of the time trials. That also can be partly because of the difficulty and the complete juxtaposition of the driving styles, and it is very difficult to switch between the games after playing one for an extensive period of time. I think beyond all of that though, I think realistically the multiplayer in Mario Kart is better because of the fact that it is an easier game to pick up and play, especially for people who are newer to the game, i.e. people who are young, people who are old, and people who may not be available to consoles. I think Crash Team Racing is a much better multiplayer game when you're available to people at around the same skill level and people who are equally as invested. But to have such a specific circumstance or such a specific thing that will make the game as good as Mario Kart multiplayer, I think that isn't fair on Mario Kart as a comparison, because the skill ceiling is drastically lower, so the gap between the players is able to be negated by the items, and the balancing of the items is absolutely amazing. Of course there are items that can be unfair, and it is polarizing because you're putting skill into a luck-based scenario. It's the same idea as poker. Obviously not as extreme though. Don't gamble, kids. Do not gamble. Gamble, kids. I do legitimately gamble. Or mamble. But with that comparison in place, I do legitimately feel Mario Kart aces the multiplayer aspect, while Crash Team Racing fondles and struggles to achieve that same glory innately because of the skill progression of that the game wants you to create, game wants you to achieve. My final point to make with the comparison of Crash Team Racing and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is also how many people are aware of Mario Kart in comparison to Crash Team Racing. Mario Kart is a very well-known and very established racing game and party game alike, whereas Crash Team Racing is more considered a cult classic, even though it was released, 2 years ago, not even. I think the biggest thing is that Crash Team Racing has been able to reach a bigger audience is that Mario is a more established character that has lasted even longer than Crash Bandicoot has, as example. And that realistically ends my comparison. And my final point is that Crash Team Racing isn't as well known and thus isn't able to attain as big of an install base as Mario Kart. And offering more niche and more individualized racing styles and just multiplayer experiences, of course it's going to be inferior to Mario Kart in that aspect.
Mario Kart
inherently, as I've said, has a bigger install base. And because of that, it is also able to have a bigger leeway and should have a smaller skill ceiling just to incorporate the huge audience that it realistically is going to include. Now, that's the end of the comparison. I hope you enjoyed the video and
I'm fucking talking, don't have a pants in her